This jaw-dropping photo from 1905 shows one of the most bizarre spectacles in American entertainment history: horse diving. Yes, you heard that right. Horses were forced to leap from platforms up to 60 feet high into a pool of water, all for the thrill of a paying audience. It was promoted as a daring stunt, but in reality, it was dangerous and cruel, both for the horses and their riders. The practice gained popularity in the early 1900s, but faced growing criticism for animal cruelty and was eventually banned decades later. A shocking reminder of how far entertainment has come. What you're looking at is not a strange musical instrument. It's a Japanese Type 90 acoustic locator built in 1936. Before radar existed, armies relied on massive sound detectors like these to track incoming enemy aircraft. These giant horns amplified the faint noise of airplane engines from miles away, giving defenders precious minutes to prepare anti-aircraft fire. While they look futuristic, they became obsolete almost overnight with the invention of radar during World War II. A fascinating piece of forgotten military technology from a time when listening was a weapon. This haunting image shows the complete human nervous system, painstakingly dissected in 1898 by Dr. Rufus B. Weaver. It belonged to Harriet Cole, a hospital worker who reportedly donated her body to science. The process took over 150 hours, as every nerve had to be carefully preserved and mounted. Why was it done? To teach anatomy in a time before modern imaging technology. Over a century later, this fragile display remains one of the most extraordinary and eerie examples of medical preservation in history. This photo captures Elvis Presley during his military service in Germany, 1958. At the height of his fame, the king of rock and roll shocked the world by trading the stage for an army uniform. Many feared his career would end, but Elvis embraced the duty with discipline, even rejecting special treatment to live like an ordinary soldier. Fans sent him thousands of letters daily, and newspapers called it the draft that shook America. This moment proved Elvis wasn't just a star. He was a patriot willing to serve. This rare photo shows an 18-year-old Bruce Lee in 1958 practicing Wing Chun under the guidance of his master. At this age, Bruce was already a rising star in Hong Kong cinema, but his passion for martial arts was unstoppable. He dedicated hours to perfecting his technique, laying the foundation for what would later become Jeet Kune Do, a revolutionary approach to combat. Few knew then that this young man would break barriers, inspire millions, and become the most influential martial artist in history. This rare photograph, taken in 1970, shows a young Vladimir Putin during his teenage years, long before the world knew his name. At the time, he was an ordinary student from Leningrad with an extraordinary determination. Passionate about sports, especially judo and swimming, Putin was already building the discipline that would shape his future. Decades later, this young man would rise from humble beginnings to become one of the most powerful and controversial figures on the global stage. Look closely at this photo. It's not a glamorous movie scene. It's Pablo Escobar, the world's most infamous drug lord, dancing with a family member. Behind the smile and the casual embrace hides a man who built an empire of fear and blood, amassing billions through a ruthless cocaine network. To his loved ones, he was a devoted father and a generous provider. To the world, he was the king of cocaine, responsible for unimaginable violence. This rare photo captures the chilling contrast. A warm family moment from a man who forever changed history through terror and power. Before he became a real estate mogul and later one of the most polarizing figures in American politics, Donald Trump was just a teenager with a reputation, at least among his classmates. This photo, taken from his military academy yearbook, labels him as the ladies' man. It's a glimpse into a very different Trump. Far from the boardrooms and campaign rallies we know today. The confident pose, the relaxed smile, and the caption suggests a young man already craving attention and admiration. Looking at this picture now, who would have guessed this ladies' man would one day become the 45th President of the United States? At first glance, this image seems like an ordinary day at a fair, but the reality is chilling. Taken in 1925, it shows members of the Ku Klux Klan riding a Ferris wheel, fully dressed in their infamous white robes and hoods. For decades, the KKK terrorized communities with violence, lynchings, and fear. Yet here they are, enjoying an amusement ride, as if their actions carried no weight. This disturbing juxtaposition reminds us that hatred often hides behind masks of normalcy, blending into everyday life. It's a stark visual of how extremism can coexist with leisure, making it even more dangerous. Captured in 1948, this haunting image freezes a moment of raw desperation, a man on his knees, clinging to his wife's hands inside a divorce court, begging for forgiveness. His face reveals anguish, perhaps a last attempt to save a crumbling marriage, while her cold, stoic expression suggests the decision has already been made. Behind them, another man, possibly a lawyer or family member, watches silently, as if witnessing the final act of a tragedy. Divorce in the 1940s carried heavy stigma, making this scene not just personal, but deeply public and humiliating. It's a photograph that speaks of pride shattered, love lost, and the quiet devastation of broken vows. In this unsettling image from the mid-1800s, French neurologist Guillaume Duchenne conducts one of his infamous electrostimulation experiments. The subject, eyes wide with terror and mouth frozen in agony, wasn't in pain, at least not physically. Electrodes applied to his face sent jolts of electricity through specific muscles, forcing expressions of fear, joy, or despair. Duchenne believed these reactions revealed the purest human emotions, beyond voluntary control. His work laid the foundation for modern neurology, but the eerie spectacle of science manipulating the human face still feels deeply disturbing. This photograph isn't just an experiment. It's a haunting glimpse at the lengths we go to understand the mind. This photo perfectly captures the carefree spirit of the late 70s. Two young women pose next to a classic car, rocking one of the most iconic trends of the decade, high-waisted, flared jeans. In 1977, fashion was all about self-expression and freedom, influenced by disco fever, rock culture, and the rise of bohemian style. Wide-leg denim wasn't just clothing. It was a statement of individuality and rebellion against the strict norms of previous decades. Tied blouses, simple tees, and effortless confidence made this era unforgettable. Looking at this, you can almost hear the Bee Gees playing in the background. Would you wear this style today? Imagine the excitement of 1962. Color TVs were a luxury, and this futuristic-looking Motorola remote control was a symbol of pure innovation. Before this, changing channels meant getting up from the couch every single time. This device changed everything. It wasn't sleek or wireless like today's remotes. It connected with a cord, but it gave families a sense of power and convenience they'd never had before. Owning one meant you were at the cutting edge of technology in the early 60s, a time when the space race and modern living defined the American dream. Can you picture yourself using this at home? Before he became one of the most influential artists in history, Pablo Picasso was just a boy with a curious gaze, growing up in Malaga, Spain. This photo, taken in 1889, captures 8-year-old Picasso alongside his sister Lola, long before his revolutionary brushstrokes would change the art world forever. At this time, cameras were still a rare luxury, and portraits like this were a statement of family pride. Who could have imagined that this little boy would go on to create masterpieces like Guernica and Les Demoiselles d'Avignon? Looking at this, can you spot any hint of the genius he would become? Step back to 1920s Mexico, a time of deep cultural shifts just after the Mexican Revolution. This photo captures two sharply dressed men seated in front of a butcher's counter, flanked by workers who look on with quiet confidence. Behind them, you can spot scales, meat hooks, and cuts of meat, symbols of everyday survival in a country rebuilding its identity. Notice the mix of formality and ruggedness. Business suits in a butcher shop, a scene where class and labor collide. Was this a casual visit or a statement of status in a changing world? Before he became one of the most infamous dictators of the 20th century, Benito Mussolini was just a 19-year-old agitator roaming the streets of Switzerland. This mugshot captures him after being arrested for promoting violent strikes and socialist uprisings. His intense stare, youthful yet defiant, tells the story of a man destined for controversy. Ironically, the revolutionary fire in this teenager would one day fuel a regime that crushed the very ideals he once fought for. Looking at this image, could anyone have predicted the shadow he'd cast over history? This photo takes us back to a time when Las Vegas was still a small desert town, long before it became the entertainment capital of the world. Here, men and women gather around early slot machines, chasing luck under the watchful sign, "Get change at bar." The room is smoky, the atmosphere electric, a stark contrast to the glitzy casinos we know today. Back then, Vegas was building its reputation on risk, glamour, and the promise of quick fortune. Looking at this scene, you can almost hear the clinking of coins and the distant echo of a dream being born in the Nevada desert. Imagine waking up in 1953 and seeing this. Frank Sinatra, the man with the golden voice, casually enjoying a towering stack of pancakes. No tuxedo, no stage lights, just OL blue eyes starting his day like the rest of us. Well, almost. At this point in his career, Sinatra had already conquered music and was stepping into Hollywood stardom, but this photo strips away the fame and glamour, showing a rare, human side of an icon. It's a reminder that even legends crave comfort food. And maybe, just maybe, that stack of pancakes held the secret behind one of the smoothest voices in history. Step back into 1925, inside a chic Mexican beauty salon where elegance and modernity collided. This rare photograph captures more than just women getting their hair styled. It's a snapshot of a society embracing change. Notice the pristine mirrors, the stylish bob cuts in progress, and even the relaxed readers waiting their turn. The Roaring '20s weren't just a North American phenomenon. Mexico, too, was dancing to the rhythm of modernization, with women redefining beauty standards and claiming spaces once reserved for men. These salons weren't only about hairstyles, they were about empowerment, independence, and a new sense of identity in a changing world.